93 Chevrolet S-10. This was my daily driver until about 2 years ago. I replaced it with the Saturn over there. I bought this thing off a college buddy in Ohio. Basically, I had a old Volkswagen that had been giving me a bunch of electronic problems, and I needed something bad. And a coworker of mine buying blown up vehicles and fixing them and flipping them, so I bought it off of him and for about $1,500, and it was the body was a lot better shape when I bought the truck. I drove it one winter up there in Ohio, and it pretty much Swiss cheesed the whole body on it, which is not really that surprising concerning these old trucks. Let's go through some of the problems that this thing had. As you see, the body is not far from good. This thing's a rust bucket. This is actually the good side, but even it has blemishes. You see these fenders here are starting to, actually that one's pretty bad. Imagine pretty soon my valence is gonna come off. I drove this thing. Eventually I just got tired of it, and it was leaking water and oil, and it was just time for something else. Still hasn't run in about 6 months, but it won't take much to get it running. But at this point, the body's so rotted on it, it's not really worth fixing and making nice. I'd probably part with this thing for dirt cheap for someone to use as parts. It's definitely not got past safety inspection over here in North Carolina. It's just a beater, and that's what I used it for. I used it to haul race engines down here in North Carolina for about 2 years, and it finally got time. I needed something else, and boss had gotten a reliable shop truck at the time, so I didn't need to have another pickup truck, and I got a good deal on Saturn, so that's how it kind of came about. This is a 93 two-wheel drive. It's got, you see the interior is pretty trashed on it. First issue you'll see right here, there's no window here, and you'll see some glass on there. This thing was broken into this year. This door was unlocked, and yet thieves, we had a bunch of people in the neighborhood, went stealing batteries, and they broke the window on a door that was unlocked, and they never stole the battery out of it, as you'll see. And I really got, so yeah, now the interior is even more trashed than what it was. This thing's got 225,000 miles, and anyone knows 80s and 90s GM products, you get them up above 200,000, the interiors have a tendency to fall apart and everything quits working, which is kind of what this truck was doing. I'll get into that later. Oh, the hood release right there. Maybe this spring I'll do a full review on this truck. It hasn't been registered and insured for a while, but I live on a private road, corner of a private road, so I could probably do something with it. But honestly, if I was going to do an S-10 review, a full-blown review, I would probably going to do one much nicer shape than this one. This one has seen a hard life. As you can see, this has got the 4.3 liter V6. This was an engine swap truck. The original motor, my buddy I bought it off of, a co-worker I should say, he had bought this truck and it had blown the head gasket, and whoever had driven it before just drove it until it just completely destroyed one of the heads. And so he pulled the motor out. Him and his brother, they put another motor in it, and there she is. This one, yeah, you can still kind of see on the front, she's still damp and stuff. Intake gasket was leaking water, but it wasn't getting water in the oil, excuse me. I drove this thing for about 1.5 years with a leaking intake gasket. It was just one of those, check the water once a week. And it doesn't, yeah, it's all milkshaked and cruddy, and Well, that could be from deck school, but about once a week I'd top it off with water or antifreeze depending on the season and keep going. She started getting some oil starvation towards the end of it when I was driving this thing full time, so it just kind of became a point where I needed something else more reliable, and I knew this thing was on its way out. As I mentioned earlier, I had some thieves trying to steal the battery. Well, of course, they pulled apart the lines, or the leads, but they couldn't figure out how to get the battery out. I don't know if they got spooked or what, but it's got a GM bottom mount to try to save space on the top. And yeah, they proceeded to lose the hardware and stuff like that. So that's the main reason why this thing hasn't moved. It's sat in this exact spot since March. I just haven't. I was working 80 hours plus hours, so this thing was low on my list. I'll probably get some hardware, get this thing turned over, get it moving again. I may do a review on it. I don't know. This is probably all I'm gonna do on this truck for this channel. The only real major things I've had motor-wise is that the first couple months I owned it, the distributor cat, I had to replace the distributor on it. I drove this thing from Lima, Ohio all the way to Maine, picked up my brother, loaded all his stuff in the back of this thing, and moved him out to college with me. And we were in the middle of Pennsylvania and we was going up a big hill, and this thing started backfiring like crazy. And what had happened is that the distributor cap had proceeded to decide that to strip out and come loose. So we had, I forgot what exactly, I think we took some vice grips and vice clamps and clamped it together. And of course this was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I had already gotten food poisoning on that trip. And so all that point I was determined to make it home, so we made it home. I put another distributor in it out of the motor that came out of it, and that's really the only major thing I had to do on this thing. The other thing is that the starter wire, you probably can't tell, I was living about an hour away from work at one point, and I noticed the speedometer was jumping up and down on this thing. I was like, oh, that's strange. There's probably another thing going wrong on this truck. I figured an old 20-something-year-old truck. Well, lo and behold, on my way home, going down I-77, going through Cornelius, and everything shut off. So I said, oh, that was strange. So I proceeded to park it, rush hour traffic, got out, opened up the hood, and the starter wire was on fire. So yeah, luckily I had a gallon of water for my weekly water top off and got that out. And I will say, AAA, if you break down on I-77 within the Charlotte area, they will send a truck within 20 minutes. That's the quickest I've ever had AAA come get me. And that's another reason I drove this truck for so long. AAA is a great service to have. But the inner fender wells is going on this thing. The brake light is on. I don't know what's going on with it. It was on when I parked it. I don't know. It probably needed to get bled again. I had, right after I bought the truck, had the brake system gone through. Everything for the rear of the truck is brand new line. We went to bleed it and everything started bursting, so I bought a roll of brake line and fixed all that. See what else. But yeah, you can see this dent right here is from an old roommate of mine. Oh yeah, that fender's bad. That thing is, look at that, that's just gone. Basically this fender right here, it always had a little bit of rust, but that thing's going right now. This dent right here came from, I had a college roommate that had a big 3/4 ton highboy Dodge Ram, mid-90s model, and he always had to park it in the driveway. He wouldn't park that thing on the street. And of course, we had 6 kids living in downtown Lima at this house, and of course the kid with the biggest vehicle had to park in the driveway. Well, I always parked at the end of the driveway. Well, I had to get to work in the morning. Lo and behold, he didn't have morning classes, so he was sleeping in, and he, of course, I had to go around his truck every day. Well, lo and behold, we had an ice storm that night. Had freezing rain, so the driveway became glare ice, and yeah, that was nothing more fun than just sliding slowly until you catch this hit the right rear bumper of his truck, and it hit right here, and that's just something I never got around to fixing. The tires are some $50 prime wells. They were what on the truck. They are a cheap Chinese tire. That's all I can comment on, but I got about 15,000, 20,000 miles out of them. That's about, no, I bought this thing with 100. I'll put 30,000 miles on this truck after I bought it, so I got my money's worth out of this thing. There is a slight alignment issue with it, but nothing real too serious. The only major issue with the front end on this thing that I know of is that, I don't know if you can see, but the sway bar is unhooked. I did that first year I owned this thing. The school I went to, they put speed bumps in the back entrance, and I didn't know, so I was blowing through way too fast, and I hit a speed bump, and it pulled the sway bar off. And something I never really went ahead and fixed. It was just low on the list. Quite honestly, it leaned more to one side. The other side's still hooked up. So it was just something it wasn't high on my list. You can see she's definitely an Ohio truck. The underneath's not pretty. Going back here, this door's not original. It came off a donor. Something that was always an issue with this truck is that the pinch welds are broken in this truck and the door, so it never held the window. So see the knob's broken off here. Roll it down a little bit, the whole thing would fall down. So I had always kept a pair of pliers in there. So I roll it back up to where it caught, pushed it back up. So somewhere the window was always down. See, yeah, this thing needs to get cleaned out. The interior is all nasty. Classic 80s, 90s vehicle with the headliner. So I had to just bought a pack of tacks and just plopped them all up there to save that. The seats, you can see, is well worn, holding 250 pounds of me. Last year the seat belt latch broke. It wouldn't engage in the, look at this thing is. But yeah, that's something I know is not gonna pass on this truck, so another reason I haven't really gotten around to fixing it. Yeah, that door panel's all breaking loose. I ripped the handle off right here. It's just a couple screws that go in right there, and yeah, just kept them ripping out. Replaced the door pins and bushings, but so it was real bad when I bought the truck. Basically the door would sag, so I bought new bushings and stuff, but the actual piece on the truck side was wallowed out, so it pretty much ate it up. Looking at you, the little funky early 90s GM truck light switches. These things have a tendency to break. This one surprisingly never did. e-brake. If I probably hit that now, I'll probably never get it out. There's a, see my well-worn brake pedal. See, this thing, looking in here, this thing was always a neat compartment to have, just to pull it in and out. The ashtray. Probably not fact. See that? See, everything's falling apart. Yes, along the lines, I got something caught in the glove box, and it broke the hinge on, or broke the latch on it. So now it doesn't want to go up and down, or it doesn't want to unlatch like it needs to. As you can see, there's no cup holders in this thing, so that was always an inconvenience. These trucks are very basic. All it had is that this glove box. I don't know if I can get it open or not, but the glove box folded down, and there was a couple little notches for cups, but they weren't actual cup holders, just for picnics. So I had going on lunch during school one day, I had a kid put drinks in there, and we tried going down the street, and they didn't last there very long. Rear view mirror not installed. I got it, but that was something I never fixed. The kids that I bought the truck off of, they bought a kit, and then they had a friend helping them out, and he put the little button upside down, so he went to pull it back off, and of course pulled the chunk out of the glass, which is what happens when you try to do that. That was just something I should have fixed. I never did, got around to doing it. Let's see what else we got in here. So yeah, being out in the elements now for the past year, this thing's just become a spider habitat, and it's just gotten, this is why I'm not concerned about selling this thing high dollar, driving it much more. Just might as well get another truck. One more thing to point out is that another GM thing, my climate control had broke. It's just something these things do after a while. It just finally, I got the actual lever just quit, so now it's just stuck on defrost, which is not a big deal during the winter. Actually, hole in the floor. So yeah, this thing's definitely seen better days. Still got the original factory jack in there. Let's see if I can get in there. The other major issue with this truck, which I'm not going to worry about trying to sell it, because I know it won't pass, is that that's not this side. Go to the other side. The cab corners, which is what these old Chevys did, the cab corners go on these trucks. It's just an area where water builds up. And yeah, I'm missing part of the body mount, the body of the cab mount. So it's seen its better days. See, this thing's just all trash and stuff. It's not pretty. Somewhere along the line, there was supposed to be a lever right there. Oh, that became a rat's nest. Okay. So yeah, this thing's getting. You probably won't see this thing on off of Wookie's Drive episode. That's the good thing about living in North Carolina, is that there's plenty of real nice examples of these old mini trucks down here. And there's a couple of these trucks running around in much nicer shape than this, so you'll probably see, if I can find somebody that's willing to do, yes. Oh, now I done did it. The lever's stuck. Oh, the door tailgate shifted. So yeah, this thing will probably get hauled off this year. I'll probably put it on Craigslist, put $500 on it. Parts truck. It'll run, but it won't. It's not safe anymore. It's not worth fixing. There's so much body rot on it. It's not. So look at that. That's like up to here. It's just not worth it anymore. I could go find another one of these trucks around here for probably around $1,000 and the body's clean on it, so, which I wouldn't mind, but that's just something I wanted to show off. Just, oh, another little quick story time. I had I forgot what I did exactly to do it, but I was leaning on this whole assembly right here. I think I was leaning on this. I think I was replacing the battery on the road because I had a battery blow up on it middle of the summer, but I accidentally leaned on this too hard and broke the tabs off the radiator shroud, and that holds the radiator on this whole bit right here. So top of the radiator started flopping, so yeah, it's safety wired in there. But yeah, figure have a little story time. My previous vehicle, little junkyard review, quote unquote. I'll probably do more of these reviews, not full on driving reviews, a junkyard review. I got a couple other vehicles that would be good to do this on. I got one that's at a shop right now that's just been sitting there, part of storage. That's another vehicle I need to get rid of. That's an 80s import, European import. So I'll do something, probably do something on that later this spring. My other vehicle, I do want to do a full review on it. It's gonna be my 4x4 project, so you'll see that. I'll probably hopefully get that one done in a month. I got a little TLC to do on that thing that's over in my garage over there, hiding right now. But I figured this would be a fun little video, a little filler. Hopefully you'll start seeing some more full-on reviews pretty soon. I'm working on getting some vehicles lined up. I got a trip planned for Tennessee coming up, a day trip. I'll be doing some higher end vehicles, so something a bit outside my norm of just basic 80s, 90s, early 2000s transportation stuff for a little more money involved. So, and I got a bunch of friends in the area, so you'll start seeing as I'll try to get content more, hopefully get a weekly schedule going for full-on reviews when the year gets going. Probably not, it'll probably end up being bi-weekly, and I'll probably fill in oddball videos in between the full-on reviews, so like this. So yeah, just here's my 93 Chevrolet S-10 Tahoe, and that's it.